Hey guys, so today we are going to be breaking down Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. I did, again, a very in-depth breakdown video yesterday when they announced his kit. They released his full details on the official website, so we took a look through all of what he's able to do. Of course, we weren't able to see the stats, so we're going to take a look at the stats here. This art looks really good, even when it's not moving. Like, all the colors, it looks, yeah, this looks pretty good. Okay, so let's check the stats first and foremost. By the way, we actually did not know he was going to be a range type, because I feel like he could have been anything. He buffs both defenses with his Z ability, which made me want to think that he might have been a defense type because he also has endurance. But it looks like no, they did go with range type, so I'm kind of curious to see what his stats are going to look like here. Okay, so let's go ahead and display max stats. He basically has the exact same offense for both Strike and Blast. The same exact stat. I mean, he's, what is that, like 300 and like 56 high or something like that? 350-ish higher Blast. That does not matter at all. But I mean, okay, yeah, it's, stat-wise looks pretty... Remember, we have to subtract around 8,000 to compensate for the title bonus and the arts boost not kicking in, so... or the arts boost kicking in, but the title boost not kicking in. So he's going to... Actually, is he going to be sub... Yeah, he might actually be sub 250s to offenses for an Ultra... That's actually pretty low. Sub 250s to his offensive stats. And then defenses are looking really good, though. He's going to be at like just shy of 180 strike defense, and he's going to be over 180 blast defense. I'm looking at his health stat. That's pretty low. His health stat is pretty low for an Ultra character. Overall, I'd actually say these stats are not that impressive for a summonable Ultra character. But, I mean, knowing what this guy's able to do, I don't really think that's too worrying. So... Oh, wait, he holds... What? He holds 2 of these? I didn't realize that. I thought he was just going to hold 1. Oh, that changes things actually quite a bit. I feel like the wording that they put on the official site when I was reading through the kit last night, they made it sound like he only held 1 of these. He holds 2. Here, okay, so I'm actually going to go in depth about why I think this is... Okay, so let's just get this out of the way now. This character has a ridiculous amount of annoying mechanics. He has a ridiculous amount of extremely powerful mechanics. I actually think this is going to be the most influential part about him. The fact that he holds 2 of these. I think this is going to... Like, literally the fact that he holds these 2 blast cards here. By the way, if you don't know what these are... Blast cards that nullify enemy armor characteristics. So, in my opinion, and again, I will come back to this in a few minutes, I think this is going to change the game. I actually believe, and I truly do think that this is going to change the entire game. We'll come back to this in a few minutes, though, to explain why. So I just want to go through some of the gimmicks that this character has, and why I think he's going to be ridiculous. Now, team-wise, he's not even on a lot of teams. He's only on Hybrids and Sun Family, those 2 teams. But I mean, Sun Family is like absurd, and then Hybrids now is absurd. I mean, they weren't. I wouldn't really classify them as an absurd team prior to this guy coming out, but now they are. Congratulations, Hybrids. You've reclaimed your... Well, I don't know if they've reclaimed their position as #1 in the game, because Sun Family is just a better version of Hybrids, I would argue, but Hybrid certainly is going to be pretty dominant, I think, with this guy now. One thing about this character that's not even like about his kit, but it's just the fact that he's green. And the reason why that's important is because there are very few good purple characters that you can afford to bring into a fight now. Like, you put a purple character on your team, and you have to just go into every single match either praying the opponent does not bring Ultra UI Goku, or that you don't get touched by Ultra UI Goku on your purple character. Otherwise, it's kind of just game over for them, right? You get locked in and sniped and ulted and blown into smithereens by UI Goku. So in a meta that doesn't really have a lot of dominant purple characters, this is going to be a pretty crazy unit. I think they're gearing us up for like a monster purple drop either next month or the month after. I think it's going to be before anniversary. I think what they're going to do is they're kind of like buttering us up with all these green characters. We've gotten a lot of green units, right? We've gotten Pikkon, we've gotten the Blue Kaioken Goku, Evolution Blue Vegeta. What else? Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta Zenkai, Goku and Bardock are half green, and now this Gohan who's green. Like green is it's insane because green was like really bad before Legends Fest started, and then now I would argue green is probably just the best color. Green is probably just the best color, and the crazy thing about that is there's just no purple characters to really put them in check. So I think what they'll do is they'll build up this green hype, and then like next month they're gonna drop some. Probably a villain, I would argue, because a lot of these green characters are good guys. They're probably going to drop some like monster purple, I don't know, Frieza. Let's just say Frieza, because I'm really hoping we get some kind of LOE representation. Well, let's just say they drop a purple, or you know what else it could be? What if they gave us a metal cooler that could like revive twice or something? A purple ultra metal cooler that could revive twice. That like just completely stomps out all these green characters. I see that happening. But for now, being green is very, very strong. Because there's not really a ton of purples in the game that are competitive now. So the first actual gimmick with his kit that we can talk about is his blue card. This is a blue card that does act, at least based off of the wording and based off of the gameplay, the limited gameplay we've seen from the preview yesterday. It looks like this does act the same way as the original LF Blue Namek Goku's transformed blue card, the counter blue card, from the Namek Goku that came out in 2019, August 2019, next to the original Full Power Frieza, the yellow one, or the original yellow one. But yeah, that's what this looks like. If you guys aren't familiar with how overpowered this is, back when that Namek Goku dropped, they had to change the way that backfloating worked in the game. Otherwise, people would just sit in the back and backfloat with Namek Goku the entire game, and you pretty much couldn't do anything. And they literally changed the battle system because of that. So this is a pretty overpowered mechanic. But the one downside to this is you can't use it to like override opponents. I guess like long range. I mean, I say that, but like you could just counter everything, right? I'm trying to think of like a downside to this. Is there a downside to this? I guess there is a downside to this in the sense that like you can't destroy an opponent's rush with this typically. Like if you vanish somebody and you know they're gonna rising rush you, a lot of times you can pop the blue card to like interrupt their rising rush. This can't do that. That's really the only downside I see to this. There's not many other downsides to this. I mean, it takes like a second to wind it up, I guess. So it's easy to like vanish and then counter Gohan. So you have to make sure you're using this at the right moments, but it's a pretty stupidly overpowered mechanic. So that's this blue card. Then he has an AoE green, which like I'm kind of interested in seeing how the dynamic is going to be between counter blue card and AoE green card on the same character. Like let's be honest, this guy did not need this. This guy did not need an AoE green card. This is also going to inflict all enemies with 3 sub counts when you hit them with this. So I think I actually did compare this to Zenkai Red Omega Shenron's green card yesterday. I actually think I would rank the Omega's green card a little bit higher than this. And the reason is because Omega's green card locks the opponent in for 3 counts on activation, as opposed to this one, which you actually have to land this for it to lock the opponent in. So you can't use it to like snipe a character out. But obviously it's still a ridiculous effect here. AoE green cards are just so stupid. One of the reasons Goku and Bardock are as annoying as they are. And then the last thing to sort of mention before we jump into the blast card discussion is this Gohan's unique gauge. It is basically a combination of the UI Goku unique gauge, the Ultra UI Goku's unique gauge, and Ultra Janemba's unique gauge. This is going to work similarly to Ultra Janemba's in the sense that you can activate this when you're in the middle of a sidestep, which is ridiculous. And obviously when you're standing still as well. And then it could also activate in the middle of getting comboed as well. And not only that, you can also combo off of this. So if your opponent is comboing you, obviously let's just think about this from the standpoint of Ultra UI Goku. If you're Ultra UI Goku and your gauge activates and you stop an opponent's combo, that's it. That's all it does. You can't follow up with that or anything. With Gohan's, in the exact same instance, or the exact same situation as you would be in with Ultra UI Goku, Gohan would stop the combo as well. But then if you have a blue card or an ultimate in your hand, you would be able to follow up and combo into the blue card or ultimate with that. So that's pretty absurd. And then on top of the fact that he does that, he also reduces enemy ki by 50, cancels his own attribute downgrades in normal conditions, shortens ally sub count by 5, and destroys the entire enemy's hand when this activates. So this is a pretty insane ability here. And then he is filling up his gauge in 2 different ways, obviously. Well, actually, it's 3 different ways. The first one is it just gradually refills on standby. The second way is he gets 50% to his unique gauge on main ability. And then the third way is he gets 20% of his unique gauge filled up every time he uses an arts card. So, yeah, this is going to be a pretty annoying character. The only thing that's important to remember about this gauge, though, is the fact that once it activates 3 times, it does go away. So in that sense, it is the same as Ultra UI Goku and Ultra Janemba's unique gauge. But I think we're probably going to see this happen way more often with Gohan than we are with those other characters, because this is a lot easier to activate. So we'll see if that comes into play here. All right, so now let's talk about what I think is probably going to be the biggest part about this character, which is saying a lot because he's doing everything. I think that the blast cards here are going to have the most profound impact on the game, the most widespread impact on the game. And the reason why is because these are not cards that are just limited to Gohan, right? Gohan is not going to be the only character using these. As long as you're bringing Gohan into the fight, these are 2 blast cards that are going into the deck of available cards that you're using throughout the fight. So what that means is you're going to have your other 2 characters that are also going to have the possibility of using these blast cards during the fight. And up until now, I thought this Gohan actually only had 1 of these. But now that we know he has 2, it kind of changes things a little bit. So what I was thinking is if this Gohan was only going to hold 1 of these, and, whenever an enemy uses a blast card, you obviously can take advantage of your blast armor in that circumstance, right? The thing with this card is if anyone on your team is using a blast card, you're not going to be able to tell whether or not that blast card is able to be blast cancel or blast armored through, right? There's not going to be like a visual differentiation between a blast attack that has armor break on it and a normal blast attack. So you can gamble and try to use your blast armor, but I was making the argument that even if you only had 1 blast card in your entire deck that had this effect on it, like, it probably wouldn't even be worth trying to risk blast armor. You probably would have to just assume that every single blast attack has armor break. Otherwise, if you, like, let's say you gamble and you're like, okay, I don't think this card is going to have armor break on it, and you go for the strike card and it does have armor break on it, you give this Gohan, probably the most powerful offensive character in the game next to Super 17, a free combo, which basically is going to lead to somebody dying in a lot of cases. So I don't know if you want to take that gamble, but I could see instances where taking that gamble might be worth it. Now that we know he holds 2 of these cards, I would almost say that under no circumstance is it worth ever risking using blast armor against any blast cards that this Gohan has. And so what this allows you to do as the person who's using Gohan is you can just freely go for blasts in mid-range. And I think the even more powerful thing this Gohan can do, and this is more so applicable to Gohan specifically, this is going to function as a pseudo Super 17 situation. And what I mean by that is one of the reasons that makes Super 17 so strong is he can quick attack, seal the opponent's blue and strike cards, and then just freely go for a blast card because he knows the opponent's not going to be able to counter him unless they have a Rising Rush. But a lot of times Super 17 is going to destroy their Dragon Ball anyway. So there's a lot of instances that make Super 17 completely just uncounterable. You can't really do anything to Super 17. Gohan has the exact same play style. If you go for a quick attack with Gohan and then you just follow up with a blast card, in my mind, if you're the opponent, you kind of have to assume that he's using an anti-armor, anti-blast armor blast card, an armor break blast card. So the opponent's not going to be able to use their blue cards. The opponent's not going to be able to use their blast armor green cards. The opponent's not going to be able to use their blast armor strike cards to take advantage of the opening after the quick attack is used. Like, you have to just vanish. And so that's, in my opinion, that's the same dynamic that Super 17 introduced when he came out. And even with Gohan, I would even argue it's worse. I would argue it's even worse with Gohan because at least against Super 17, if you have your Rising Rush, there's not going to be, Super 17 destroys Dragon Balls. I think it's when he fills his gauge up. So it's not going to be every single time that he's destroying your Dragon Ball when he quick attacks you or uses the blast card against you. But against Gohan, Gohan has endurance. So you can potentially counter Gohan's quick attack blast with a Rising Rush. But unless you're like Gogeta Blue or Vegito Blue, Gohan's going to live because he has endurance. And remember, Gohan's endurance is healing him by 40% health. It's not 30, it's 40. So do you really want to waste your Rising Rush just to counter a quick attack blast from Gohan? If I'm the Gohan player, I'm happy about that. So there's that. And then there's also the fact that you really don't know how to initiate against this character because of his counter blue card on top of that and his AoE green card. So I think this Gohan is very similar to Super 17, actually, in the sense that both characters basically have an answer to everything. You don't want to blast attack Gohan. You don't want to blast attack Super 17. Both Gohan and Super 17 can take full advantage of following up on their blast cards after they quick attack you. You have to be super careful around them at all times, and it's even more so, I guess I would argue, with Gohan because of his AoE green as well. It's like insane, man. Like, what? This is really what we're doing in 2024. We are we're entering a world where they're just creating these characters that basically have the ability to counter anything that happens. And then, like, we have Super Vegeta released, which is kind of like, imagine Super 17 and Ultra Gohan, and then in between those two releases we have Super Vegeta. It just makes no sense. Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap up what I wanted to say about this Gohan, but I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to convey here. This character is going to introduce a very different dynamic, and the fact that, again, he not only has access to these armor break blast cards, but that he's supplying other characters on your team with these cards essentially allows other characters on your team to also take advantage of that strategy, where you quick attack with them and then you go for a blast, and they, again, you're the opponent, you have to assume that it's an armor break card. Otherwise, you're just gambling for no, like, is it really worth the risk, I guess is what I would say. A lot of people, I would assume, are going to take the risk. In my opinion, I probably would never take the risk because it's not worth it. If you're holding two of these cards in your deck and you're using a blast card, there's a very high chance that one of them is going to have armor break on it. So I'm not going to take that risk. And for me, that really, really increases the power level of this character, because not only is he impacting his own abilities, but the entire team's abilities as well. So in that sense, he's kind of acting as a support as well. Kind of insane. All right, well, anyway, this guy comes out tomorrow. They usually like releasing characters on the last day of each month, which is why it wasn't today. Let's take a look at some equipment. We should have some equipment here. Let's go to the archive. We should have... So every single time they release a Ultra character, they come out with a new equipment for them, a new unique equipment for them. So I expect a unique equipment for Gohan. We are getting a new season of co-op, so there's going to be a new unique equipment for co-op. And then also we do have a reset for Ultra Space Time Rush, so there should be an Awakened equip as well. So there should be a decent amount of equipment to go over today. Well, let's see. Okay, so this is going to be the co-op equip because it's next to all the other co-op equipment. So this is... Oh, data updated. I guess we will be back in a second. All right, our data has been updated. Let's go ahead and check this out now. This is... Ra. Okay. For all Hybrid Saiyans. So we have 10% to base, strike, and blast in slot 1. And then 20% to base strike in slot 2, 20% to base blast defense in slot 3, and then we have 10% to pure strike and blast in slots 2 and 3 if you're running a full hybrid Saiyan team, which is this is a very, very typical and standard hybrid Saiyan equipment. Or not hybrid Saiyan equipment, co-op equipment. This is the same way they structure a lot of the other co-op equipments. Slot 1 is a little underwhelming because usually what they have for slot 1 is they usually have like HP. I would take HP over 10% to both offenses, but it's not bad, obviously. So if you're running a full hybrid Saiyan team, you're actually getting base and pure offenses from this, as well as defense. Like this is a solid equip. If you're running a full hybrid team, this is probably what you want to be running, at least one of these. So not bad. Remember, all the co-op equips are usually good. So for that, to make us want to grind co-op, they have to make the equips good because they know how hellish it is. Okay, and then we have this, which should be just coming out, or it should already be out, but this should be tied to the Ultimate Equipment Collection event. Hybrid Saiyans in green. I wonder who this is for. You've overstepped the line. Okay, so 10% strike defense, 10% to special move damage, 30% to blast defense, and then 38% to blast attack. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, just a very solid equip. How does this compare to the UI equip? Where's that UI Goku equip? It should be... Here it is, right here. Ultimate Strike Blast. I would actually say this is probably better than the Gohan one. I mean, it's very similar. 38% blast. This one is giving more balanced defenses, which I like better, I would say. The Gohan one is giving 10% strike, 30% blast defense. And then it's giving special move damage instead of ultimate damage. It's basically the same thing. I mean, it's not much different, right? I would prefer the balanced defenses instead of leaning way more towards blast. But yeah, this is good. This is very solid equipment. And then we should have one awakened equip. Oh my god, they're awakening that? I still use that equipment. I use this on Pan still. This is double defense HP equip. Oh boy. We could be seeing another one of these like super mega OP hybrid awakened equip. What is this? This is for... Oh, they're limiting it to Cell Saga. Okay, Hybrid Saiyans and Cell Saga. Oh my god. 30% strike, 30% blast, 10% health, and 10% special move damage. Yeah, that's pretty damn good, man. Okay. I guess the question is going to come down to, do we want to build Gohan defensively? I can't answer that right now. Maybe it's going to be a thing, but at least if you're using him on Sun Family, I would argue you don't need defense on that team. You have UI Goku and Gohan and Goku and Bardock. So Goku and Bardock obviously have indestructible. Goku has his gauge, and then Gohan has his gauge and endurance. When are you dying with that team? It's impossible. You literally... Quick, explain really quickly how do you die with the team? Go, right now, explain. The answer is you can't. It's impossible. How do you die with that setup? It's impossible. So, do we want a ton of extra defense on Gohan, or do we want to just focus more on offense? Right now, I'm leaning more towards offense because, again, team's like unkillable anyway. But I could definitely see this getting a lot of value. This is a really strong equipment. And I believe that should be it. So, looks like, again, Gohan is going to come out tomorrow. Normal reset time, which is 3 p.m. for me, which is 1 a.m. Eastern time. So, let me know down below what you guys think of Gohan. Let me know what you guys think of the equipment. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.